The psychology of falling in love. What Stoics knew about desire. We don't fall in love because we choose to. We fall in love because our minds are wired to surrender, no matter how hard we try to resist. All right, let's dive straight into the uncontrollable pull of love. The uncontrollable pull of love. Have you ever noticed how love sneaks up on you? How one glance, one laugh, or even one small act of kindness can change the way your entire body feels. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't ask for permission. It just happens. And that's what makes falling in love so terrifying, yet so profoundly beautiful. We like to believe that we are in control of our choices. We carefully plan our careers, our finances, and even our health routines. But when it comes to love, suddenly, all that control seems to evaporate. A person walks into our life, and in the blink of an eye, they're no longer just another face in the crowd. They become a center of gravity, pulling us closer, whether we want it or not. Why is that? Because love is not just an emotion. It's a psychological force. It is one of the oldest survival instincts built into our species. Thousands of years ago, falling in love meant forming bonds that increased our chances of survival. Alone, you were vulnerable. Together, you were stronger. Nature didn't design love to be polite. It designed love to be magnetic, an irresistible pull that glues two people together so that life could continue. This is why when you're in the early stages of falling in love, your brain can feel like a battlefield. One part of you wants to stay calm, rational, collected, like a Stoic philosopher. The other part of you? It's on fire with emotions you didn't ask for. The quickened heartbeat when you see them, the rush of adrenaline when they say your name, the endless loop of thoughts replaying conversations in your head. And here's the truth. You can't just switch this off. Even Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and one of the most disciplined Stoics in history, admitted in his meditations that human beings are naturally pulled toward desire. He reminded himself daily that passion and longing are part of our nature, but what matters is how we respond to them. Think about it. That uncontrollable pull you feel when you're in love, it's not weakness, it's biology. The way your attention narrows until that one person becomes the center of your universe, that's evolution working exactly as it should. The reason love feels so much like fate, because your mind and body are conspiring to make it feel inevitable. But here's where it gets interesting. Falling in love may be natural, but how you handle that love, that's where psychology, philosophy, and wisdom come in. You see, love itself is not the problem. The problem is when we lose ourselves in it. When the pull of love becomes so overwhelming that it blinds us to red flags, disrupts our peace of mind, or makes us believe our happiness is completely dependent on another person. That's when what was once beautiful turns into something dangerous. So, before we dive into the wisdom of Stoic philosophers like Epictetus, and before we unravel the chemical storms of the brain, we first need to recognize this simple truth. Falling in love is not a choice. It's a force. A force as ancient as humanity itself. And like all forces, it can either build you or break you, depending on how you learn to master it. And in the next, we'll look at exactly how one of the most famous Stoic philosophers understood desire, and how his teachings can help us navigate the overwhelming pull of love with clarity, discipline, and strength. Epictetus on desire, love, attachment, and control. Epictetus on desire, love, attachment, and control. When Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, taught his students about life, he often returned to one central truth. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. And when it comes to love, this teaching hits harder than almost anything else. Because here's the reality. Falling in love isn't something you choose. You don't wake up one morning and say, I think I'll fall in love today. It just happens. The smile of someone across the room, the way they carry themselves, a shared laugh, and suddenly you're caught. The attraction is automatic. The desire is real. The emotions, they flood in without your consent. Epictetus would tell us, that part is not under your control. But here's what is. how you respond to those feelings. He warned that the danger isn't in desire itself, but in attachment, when we start to believe that our happiness, our peace of mind, or even our very identity depends on the person we love. He called this a kind of slavery, because the moment your emotional stability belongs to someone else, you no longer own yourself. Think about it. How many people lose themselves in a relationship, forgetting who they are outside of it? How often do we place the weight of our entire worth on whether someone stays or leaves? How many of us confuse passion with permanence, believing that the fire we feel today guarantees a future tomorrow? Epictetus would say, that's the trap of attachment. And yet, he wasn't telling us to stop loving. He wasn't saying to avoid relationships or reject desire altogether. Instead, he urged us to love wisely, to experience the fire of love while remembering that it is not eternal, not guaranteed, and not fully ours to control. He once compared human relationships to a traveler who comes across a beautiful inn on the road. You can enjoy the shelter, the warmth, the food, and the company, but you must remember it's not your home. At some point, you must continue your journey. To cling desperately, to refuse to leave, is to invite suffering. This doesn't make love meaningless. On the contrary, it makes love more sacred. Because when you understand its impermanence, you savor it more deeply. You respect its fragility, and you refuse to let it destroy you if it changes or fades. Here's the shift Epictetus offers us. Desire is natural, but attachment is a choice. Love is a gift, but dependency is a chain. You cannot control whether someone loves you back, but you can control whether you lose yourself in the process. Imagine loving someone with full presence, appreciating every moment, every touch, every shared memory, while still keeping your inner freedom. That is what Epictetus would call true mastery. And isn't that what we're really searching for? To love without fear, to give without losing, to experience the beauty of connection without becoming a prisoner of it. Now, we'll peel back the curtain on modern science, exploring how psychology and neuroscience explain the whirlwind of emotions, chemicals, and mental patterns that take over when we fall in love. Because what Epictetus intuited 2,000 years ago, science is finally proving today. Let's dive into the chemistry of love, what your brain is really doing. The chemistry of love, what your brain is really doing. We often talk about love as if it's pure poetry, hearts, soulmates, destiny. But behind every racing heartbeat, every sleepless night, and every electric glance lies something far more primal: chemistry. And I don't mean romance chemistry. I mean literal brain chemistry. When you fall in love, your brain lights up like a storm. It floods itself with neurotransmitters and hormones designed to bond you, hook you, and in many ways, override your logic. Let's break it down. 1. Dopamine, the reward drug. The first time you feel drawn to someone, dopamine surges. This is the same chemical released when you win money, eat your favorite food, or achieve a big goal. It's the brain's way of saying, this feels good. Do it again. That's why early love feels addictive. You crave their presence, their texts, their voice. And when you don't have it, you feel restless. Love literally hijacks the brain's reward system, the same system involved in addiction. 2. Oxytocin, the bonding hormone. Known as the cuddle chemical, oxytocin is released through touch, holding hands, hugging, intimacy. It creates feelings of safety and attachment. That's why a simple embrace from someone you love feels different than from anyone else. Your brain is reinforcing the connection, whispering, stay close. This person is safe. 3. Serotonin, the obsession trigger. Here's the kicker. Serotonin levels actually drop in early stages of love. And this drop is similar to what's seen in obsessive-compulsive disorder. That's why new lovers can't stop thinking about each other. You're not just distracted, you're chemically programmed to obsess. 4. Adrenaline cortisol, the rush of uncertainty. That nervous excitement you feel, sweaty palms, racing heart, butterflies, That's adrenaline and cortisol. Your body is on high alert because uncertainty drives intensity. Will they call? Do they feel the same? The unknown heightens attraction, making the chase intoxicating. Now, here's where it gets fascinating. When you combine all of these chemicals, you get the roller coaster of love. The highs, the lows, the sleepless nights, the obsession, the passion. It feels cosmic, but in reality, it's your biology trying to ensure connection, reproduction, and survival. But there's a shadow side. The same chemicals that make love feel divine can also make it destructive. Dopamine makes you addicted. Oxytocin makes you blind to flaws. Serotonin makes you obsessed. Adrenaline keeps you hooked on uncertainty. This is why people stay in unhealthy relationships, unable to let go. Why heartbreak feels like withdrawal. Why the end of love can feel like the end of life itself. Now here's where the Stoic perspective returns with power. Marcus Aurelius once said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this, and you will find strength. Understanding the chemistry of love gives you back that power. Because once you see what's happening in your brain, you stop being its victim. You recognize the addiction for what it is. You understand the obsession. You learn to ride the wave without letting it drown you. And that's the secret. Love may be biological, but wisdom is psychological. The brain may create the storm, but your mind can choose how to sail through it. Now we'll explore what happens when love takes a darker turn, when it shifts from passion to obsession, and why so many people lose themselves in the name of love. Perfect. Let's move into the heart of the shadow side of love. When love turns to obsession. Love is beautiful until it isn't. At first, it feels like the sun has risen just for you. But slowly, for some, it transforms into a fire that doesn't warm, but burns. What begins as affection can turn into fixation. What begins as passion can morph into possession. This is the psychology of obsession. When the brain's chemistry takes over unchecked, love becomes less about connection and more about control. You don't just want the person, you need them. You check your phone every 2 minutes. You replay conversations in your head. You measure your self-worth based on whether they text back or pull away. It's not love anymore, it's dependency. The trap of idealization. Obsession begins with idealization. You stop seeing the person as they are, and instead create a flawless image of who you want them to be. Every flaw gets excused. Every red flag gets ignored. You aren't in love with them. You're in love with the story you've written in your head. This is why heartbreak can feel like death. You're not just losing a person, you're losing the dream version of them you built and clung to. The fear of abandonment. Obsession thrives on fear. Fear of being alone. Fear of not being enough. Fear that love, once found, might vanish. And fear makes us act in ways that push love further away. Constant reassurance seeking, jealousy, monitoring. These don't protect relationships, they suffocate them. Epictetus warned about this centuries ago. When you are attached to something outside your control, you become its slave. And what is obsession, if not slavery of the heart? Why it feels impossible to let go? Psychologically, obsession is reinforced by intermittent rewards. If someone gives you attention one moment and withholds it the next, your brain becomes addicted to the uncertainty. Just like a gambler at a slot machine, you keep pulling the lever, hoping this time you'll hit the jackpot. This is why many people stay trapped in toxic relationships. The highs are so intoxicating, they blind you to the lows. And your brain whispers, maybe tomorrow they'll give me the love I crave. The Stoic antidote. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not over outside events." Obsession is born when we hand that power away, when our entire emotional world depends on someone else's behavior. The Stoic path asks us to reclaim it, to love without losing ourselves, to give without clinging, to feel the fire without being consumed by it. This doesn't mean love less, it means love better. Love with awareness, love with freedom, love with a deep understanding that your worth is not tied to whether someone stays or leaves. Because here's the truth, obsession is not love. Obsession is fear wearing love's mask. And once you strip away the mask, you realize something powerful. Real love isn't about possession. It's about presence. It's not about owning someone. It's about appreciating them while still owning yourself. Now, we'll uncover how to rise above this cycle. How to build a love that is deep, passionate, and free from chains. A love that aligns with both psychology and Stoic wisdom. Absolutely. Let's bring this full circle with a vision of love that uplifts instead of enslaves. Building love with wisdom, a Stoic guide to connection. Love, when stripped of illusions, is not weakness, it is strength. But only when practiced with wisdom. The Stoics didn't reject love. They simply sought to purify it, to strip away the fear, the chains, and the unhealthy dependence. So how do we build a love that's both deep and liberating? 1. Love is a choice, not a chain. Epictetus reminded us, don't demand that things happen as you wish, but wish them to happen as they do. Applied to love, this means you don't demand ownership of someone else. You don't chain your worth to their actions. Instead, you choose to love them as they are, not as you fantasize them to be. You replace expectation with appreciation. 2. Practice presence over possession. Marcus Aurelius wrote, confine yourself to the present. Love thrives in the present moment. Yet so often we ruin it with two thieves, fear of the future and regret of the past. Wisdom in love is learning to be fully present with your partner, to look into their eyes without needing guarantees, to share laughter without demanding forever, to understand that the moment itself is enough. 3. Build inner stability first. The Stoics believed self-mastery was the foundation of all strength. If you cannot govern your own mind, you cannot hope to love well. This means developing emotional resilience so your happiness isn't shattered by every disagreement. This means knowing your purpose outside of the relationship so you don't lose yourself in it. This means seeing love as an addition to your life, not the definition of it. When you are stable within yourself, your love becomes a gift, not a desperate grasp. 4. Transform attachment into appreciation. The modern mind often equates love with ownership, your mine, forever. But Stoic love would sound more like, you are here with me now, and I cherish it deeply. When you stop clinging, you actually experience love more fully. Because appreciation thrives where possession dies. 5. Align passion with purpose. Passion is not the enemy. Uncontrolled passion is. The Stoics taught that emotions are powerful, but they must be guided by reason. Loving with wisdom means directing passion toward building, not burning. Toward supporting growth, not stifling it. Toward strengthening both souls, not draining one for the sake of the other. The Stoic way of loving. To love with wisdom is to walk a fine line, to give your heart without surrendering your soul, to hold someone close without chaining them down, to feel the fire of passion while remaining rooted in self-mastery. Because in the end, love is not about losing yourself in another. It's about finding yourself more deeply through the connection. The Stoics would tell us, love but do not cling, care but do not control, desire but do not depend. That is how you build a love that doesn't break you, but makes you whole. Now, we'll bring everything together, the psychology, the Stoic wisdom, and the practical truths to reveal the deeper secret of why we fall in love and how to rise with it, not fall beneath it. Perfect. Let's close this journey with a powerful conclusion that ties everything together. The secret of rising in love. Love has always been painted as something we fall into as though it's an accident, a trap, or a force outside our control. And in some ways it is. The brain is wired with dopamine, oxytocin, and endless chemistry designed to pull us into its grip. The heart races. The mind obsesses. The body aches with longing. But here's the truth the Stoics remind us of. Falling in love is natural, but rising in love is intentional. We've seen how love works in 3 layers. The psychology, where attachment and fear can twist love into obsession. The biology, where chemicals drive passion and connection. The wisdom, where philosophy teaches us how to love without chains. Epictetus warned us not to hand over our freedom. Marcus Aurelius urged us to anchor ourselves in the present. Their teachings remind us that love is not meant to enslave, but to liberate. Because real love, wise love, isn't about possession. It isn't about obsession. It isn't about demanding certainty in a world that offers none. Real love is presence. Real love is gratitude. Real love is giving without losing. And maybe that's the greatest paradox of all. When you stop clinging, you actually experience love more deeply. When you stop trying to control, you discover the freedom to truly connect. When you stop falling, you start rising. So the next time you feel the pull of love, remember this. Yes, your brain will light up like a firestorm. Yes, your heart will ache with the thrill of desire. Yes, you'll feel vulnerable, exposed, even afraid. But you're not powerless. With wisdom, you can choose how you love. With awareness, you can turn obsession into appreciation. With presence, you can transform love from a chain into a source of strength. Love is not meant to consume you. It's meant to expand you. So fall if you must, but rise if you can. That is the psychology of love. And that is the Stoic way of living it. If this video gave you a new perspective on love, one that blends ancient wisdom with modern psychology, don't keep it to yourself. Hit subscribe to join this journey of self-mastery. Share this with someone who's struggling in love. They may need this more than you know. And drop a comment below. What has love taught you about yourself? Because at the end of the day, we're not just learning how to love others. We're learning how to love wisely, deeply, and with the kind of strength that even the Stoics would respect.